disperse to the west.
Use it over the next 10 years.
I'm Vermin Supreme, and whenever I'm watching some sort of moving images on a screen, it's Indymedia for sure.
Afghanistan and giving up kites here in America. No to NATO! Hey, you give them candy, you give them kites, and then you drop bombs and cluster bombs on kids in Afghanistan and Iraq. No to NATO! Public relations stunt, and everybody can see through it. You give kites to kids in America and drop bombs on kids in Iraq. You drop bombs on kids in Afghanistan. You drop bombs on kids that speak Arabic. No to NATO! No to the warmongers! No to Boeing! Go home! Get out of here!
You're not even from Chicago! Give us our libraries, man! Give us our mental health care
What
facilities!
do you have to say for yourself that's not in front of a camera? Defend yourself! Defend bombs! Defend the cluster bombs! Defend the kids that have been killed! No to NATO! Go home!
We want a mental health care facility in every ward! Get some of your money!
The mayor can't even speak for himself! Speak on behalf of NATO! Speak on behalf of Boeing! What can you say? Nothing! Because you're a bunch of murderers! Go home, warmonger! Go home, murderers!
We want our mental health care clinics that you're closing on us!
No more cluster bombs! No more Boeing! No more hypocritical public relations stuff!
I actually came here with my kid.
Oh, did you?
And I just wore my mask and my mouth. And I'm like, okay, this works.
We rode over here today because we heard that the NATO Summit and Boeing were co-sponsoring this family event of flying kites. In fact, there was going to be some kind of Afghan kites flown. We came down because we don't believe that Boeing, who makes warplanes, it's just greenwashing for them to be participating in an event like this. Same with NATO. NATO represents killing people all over the world, not saving people. So they're participating in this community event. We came down because we think it's wrong.
I am a soldier who survived the fear of facing Uncle Sam and saying, "Sir, no sir. I won't fight for lies. Forgive me, wounded soldier, for not being there to ease your pain. I'll try on this end to bring you home now."
I came here down to protest the NATO Summit. I'm part of with a small group, Occupy Mankato, up where I live in Mankato, Minnesota. Well, we were part of the large march that happened today. A group of soldiers from Veterans for Peace came and they went to as close as sort of they could get to the NATO Summit and gave back their medals, saying that they weren't going to take part in the wars anymore. I was part of an anti-capitalist contingent of that. When the march ended, we decided that we were going to try to head east. Cops, who were then sort of barricading in that direction, started pushing people back, telling people go back, repeatedly. It was kind of around that time. There were some people who were kind of getting hit up in the front, and they sort of started filtering out, and then I kind of got closer and closer. and at one point this girl fell down, and they were repeatedly beating her on. There was several cops beating her on the legs and on the body, while others were still saying, get back, and she was yelling, I can't get up, let me get up. And there was some people who were trying to get her up, but they were kind of being pushed back as well. One man eventually bent down to try to grab her. He got hit on the back of the head. He kind of went down at that point. He started bleeding from the back of the head. Then I was kind of, with the pressure that was behind me, I kind of was almost on my knees at that point, and I sort of tried to reach towards the girl, and it was at that point an officer took his billy club and sort of swung it right into my teeth, like with the pointy end of the back, and then that was right in here. You can see the roundness of where they hit. And so, yeah, at that point, I kind of felt this numbness in my mouth. I was like, okay, I got hit in the mouth. It didn't hurt too much. It was sort of like stunned. And then I sort of started feeling the pieces of teeth in the back of my mouth. And I'm like, oh, those are pieces of something. All right. And it was at that point I was starting to think, maybe I should get out of here. And then I started to sort of head back. And I also saw that the man who got hit in the back of the head when I was leaving, I kind of tried to at least help get him up too. I'm not sure if I helped that much or not. But we both got out of there. He started heading. We started yelling medic, both of us, then other people did, and then someone grabbed him and they started escorting him through the march, and they sort of made some room for him to go there, and then I went after him and I was like, I need to go to this too. We ended up both in front of the Papa John's, in front of some barricades down there, waiting, and then eventually medics came. I had to mainly focus on him since I felt fine. I just had my teeth in my hand. You want to see him?
Show
Yeah.
the camera so then
Yeah,
it's
let's
proof.
I put them in a shot of milk because milk's supposed to be what's best, so I'll just...
Oh, could have just left them in.
Yeah.
All right.
There they are.
Look at that.
So...
Smile for the camera.
Trying to get rid of that park. That's the only way we're going to make these crowds
I try to put them in the park. Everybody move forward. Come on. We need them.
No justice, no peace, the police.
We began the day at a jail support rally at 26 in California in regards with the charges against the 3 Bridgeport arrestees that are brought up on what I personally feel are some bogus charges. Last week, there were a car full of protesters in from out of town that got pulled over and harassed by the Chicago Police Department and threatened to have their skulls cracked in, told that they were going to be hunted down at NATO. Somebody in that car ended up filming this video and they got it put through up onto YouTube. That video went out to all the mainstream media and independent media on all the media lists that were available. That created a mass embarrassment for the Chicago Police Department and a PR hit that caused the Superintendent McCarthy to have to respond within hours, which is highly unusual. From then came a raid, which very well may have just been targeting because they had the embarrassment of this video being released, in addition to trying to instill fear into the public to make people not come down for the NATO actions today. The 3 people that were charged up, and it's my understanding that there's been more that have been added to that, but I do not have the details. I think it's up to 5. Were all people in that car and part of that video. And they busted them on having a homemade or a homemaking beer situation, and I have a hard time believing any of what they're saying is going on. We've yet to see, the evidence. We'll see where it goes, but in my personal opinion, I really feel like it's a retaliation from a black eye for the Chicago PD, in addition to a fear campaign that I'm sure is orchestrated from all sorts of federal level powers in order to create that fear and compliance and make people afraid to come out and march and use their constitutional rights against NATO, and saying that these wars are unjust and that this war machine needs to stop. So when the raids happened, there was a pretty big uproar because a lot of us here locally know these people, have been working with these people within protests, been standing side by side, had each other's backs. And so a lot of protesters have been very distressed about this. And so there's actually been a number of rallies and actions that have spurred out of support for these arrestees, support for jail support, getting these arrestees out, support with trying to make sure that everybody knows that the people that are charged should be out. But they did hold most of the arrestees for 48 hours before releasing them, which left time for multiple marches and rallies to have happened within that. It certainly enraged and upset the protesting community here, and felt like that was something that they needed to express using their constitutional rights to do so with freedom of speech and assembly. And so we've had a number of actions, and the largest certainly was the jail support for when these protesters were going up, the ones that are charged, going up to bond court. So from that stemmed a huge day of activities that ended up winding up at 11:30 that evening, and it was extremely powerful. And it showed extreme, violent use of tactics from the Chicago Police Department and the feds, with no violent tactics used by any of the protesters along that way.